Alright guys, welcome to our long-awaited 700 subscriber special. Our episode 71, EDH Commander Challenge. I'm your host BT, and a big apology for why this took so long. As you guys know, I wasn't very well and work is getting crazy. I'm currently on my first week out of 3 weeks of vacation, which I've been waiting on since June. That's right, mid-June was the last time I was on vacation from work, so I've been waiting for this one for quite a while. We actually had to reshoot the video because the original draft we did had a lot of misplays and a lot of mess-ups. So even though the video was hilarious, and I wish I could show it to you, especially the hilarious ending, which saw a player winning with Platinum Angels despite having less than 0 life. It was jokes. We had to reshoot it, and this is what it is. So we reshot it this past Tuesday, and I got started to editing it around Thursday. And here we are. The video is up and ready to go at long last, so thank you so much for your patience, everybody. A couple quick shout-outs to mention real quick. First, to Gamers Cafe for allowing us to use their premises to shoot the video. By the way, guys, if you love delicious foods as well as drinks, and not to mention are into games like board games, card games, computer games, or console games, or if you just like partying, for example, your #1 choice is definitely Gamers Cafe. So check out their store, their online store, as well as their Facebook page. That's Gamers Cafe. Food, drinks, and games. What more could you want? Also, this is the holiday season, so I want to give a few shout outs to a couple of really awesome Commander channels or MTG channels in general that inspire me to make content every single week, including the likes of Kitchen Table Commander, EDH Academy, MTG Mazda, MTG McQuacks, Ranch, not to mention the Mana Source as well, because Wedge is amazing. And of course, this young person I'd like to mention as well, a very good friend of mine. His name is Rathalos Soul. That's right, if you guys ever played Monster Hunter, you know what I'm talking about. He has his own channel. I'll have the link to the description below. He's really trying hard to hit 100 subscribers on the channel, so that for him it's just a personal goal. So as it's Christmas and this is the season for giving, it's like you guys do me a little favor, and after you're finished checking out today's video, just go check the link in the description below and go subscribe to Rathalos Soul's channel. He has a great fun EDH matchup he calls the EDH Showcase, where him and his friend Sky Knight do some cool EDH matches for you all to enjoy. They also have deck techs and other things as well for you to check out. So please help him reach 100 subscribers. A link to his channel, Rathalos Soul, in the description below. And happy holidays to all the channels that I just mentioned, and to you guys once again for supporting the channel. Now, without any further ado, let's introduce our players. First, we have Jimmy playing his Brudiclad Telchor Engineer Izzet deck. He keeps the hand with Trophy Mage, Ponder, Ethereum Sculptor, Unwinding Clock, Izzet Signet, an Island, and an Inventor's Fair. Then I'm playing my Kaalia the Vast deck, Mardu style, featuring a hand with Phyrexian Arena, Steel Hellkite, Sensei's Divining Top, a Wayfarer's Bauble, a Swamp, a Plains, and a Dragon Skull Summit. Next we have Francis, the Mad Scientist, playing his Celestia-style Karametra God of Harvest deck. He keeps a hand with Grey Pelt Refuge, Sun Petal Grove, Temple of the False God, Conclave Guild Mage, a Forest, a Plains, and a Journey to Nowhere. And finally, we have a Band General played by Mark, the infamous Derevi Imperial Tactician. He keeps a hand with Fertile Ground, Rampant Growth, Reclamation Sage, Eldamari's Call, an Island, a Forest, and a Yavimaya Coast. Jimmy wins the die roll, and he starts the game. Let's go! Jimmy starts by playing an island and casts Ponder. After resolving its effect, he passes the turn. I play an Etchy Swamp and cast Wayfarer's Bauble before passing the turn. Mark plays a Forest and passes. Francis plays a Grey Pelt Refuge, gains 1 life, and passes. Jimmy plays a Great Furnace and casts Telling Time. After resolving its effect, he passes turn. For my turn, I play a Dragon Skull Summit untapped, since I have a swamp, and pass a turn. Mark plays an island and casts Rampant Growth to search out a plains from his deck, and passes. Francis plays a forest and casts Conclave Guildmage, and passes. Jimmy plays an Inventor's Fair and casts Ethereum Sculptor, making his artifacts cheaper to cast. He then casts an Izzet Signet for 1 mana, thanks to it, and passes. During his end step, I sacrifice my Bauble for 2 mana to search out a mountain into play tapped. For my turn, I play a Plains and cast my General Kaalia the Vast and pass. Mark plays a Yavimaya Coast and passes. Francis plays a Sun Petal Grove and passes. Jimmy gains a life thanks to his fair for having Metalcraft, and then casts Unwinding Clock and passes. During my turn, Jimmy untaps all his artifacts, thanks to his clock. I play my Plateau for my land, and then move into combat and attack Jimmy with Kaalia. Thanks to her trigger, I get to drop in a Steel Hellkite into play, tapped and attacking. Jimmy can't block, and takes a total of 7 damage. With my Hellkite's effect, I pay 2 to destroy all 2 casting cost cards on Jimmy's field, destroying his Sculptor and Signet. Then, in my second main phase, I cast Phyrexian Arena, after which I pass a turn. During my end step, Mark flashes into Derevi and taps of all things my Phyrexian Arena. Why? Because he's awesome like that, that's why. Mark plays a forest and casts Fertile Ground on his plains. Then he moves to combat and attacks Francis with Derevi for 2 damage. With its trigger, he untaps a land, and then during his second main phase, casts Reclamation Sage, blowing up my Steel Hellkite before passing the turn. Francis plays a Plains and casts Throne of the God Pharaoh. He then moves into combat and attacks me for 2 with his Guildmage. Then he passes the turn, and during his end step, his throne deals 1 damage to each of his opponents on the table thanks to his tapped Guildmage. Jimmy casts Trophy Mage and searches out Worn Power Stone this turn to get back on track, and passes. For my turn, I take a damage from my arena and draw an extra card from it. I then play an Etchy Mountain and cast Imperial Seal. This allows me to place one card on the top of my deck. I then cast Sensei's Divining Top and tap it to draw a card, and then place it on top of my deck. Then I move to combat. I attack Francis with Kaalia, and with her trigger, I drop in the most evil creature in Rakdos, Master of Cruelties. True to its scary name, Jimmy's face turns pale and Francis is flat horrified. With no way to stop it during blockers, Master's trigger puts Francis down to 1. And then Kaalia deals the remaining damage, causing the sudden KO to the mad scientist. I then pass the turn. During my end step, Mark casts Eladamari's Call to add Sakashima the Imposter to his hand. For Mark's turn, he casts said Sakashima, making it a copy of Derevi, but keeping its own name. He then casts Edric, Spy Master of Trests. He then moves into combat and attacks me with his Derevi and Sage. I cast Utter End to remove Edric to stop the card draw, and take 4 damage total. He gets 4 untapped triggers thanks to his essentially 2 Derevis, quote unquote. So he untaps his 2 creatures and 2 lands and passes the turn. Jimmy plays an island and casts Worn Power Stone and passes. Jimmy again untaps his artifacts during my turn thanks to his clock. I take another damage from the arena for an extra card draw. I recast my Sensei's Divining Top to scan my top 3 cards. I then play a Godless Shrine tapped. I move to combat, but Jimmy bargains with me not to attack him as I currently have no way to bypass Mark's Ironclad defense, and that he's willing to help me, so I agree and pass a turn. Mark plays a Temple Garden, tapped, and casts Selfless Spirit. He then moves to combat and attacks Jimmy with his 2 Derevis, quote unquote, dealing 4 damage to him, and he uses his 4 triggers to untap his creatures and lands before passing. Jimmy gains a life thanks to his Fair for having Metalcraft, and then casts Dreamstone Hedron and passes. During his end step, I check my top 3 cards with my Senseis. Again, Jimmy untaps his artifacts during my turn. And I take another damage from my arena to draw an extra card. I then cast Vampiric Tutor, paying 2 life to place a card on the top of my deck. Meanwhile, Jimmy responds by sacrificing his Dreamstone to draw 3 cards. Then, I tap my top to draw a card and place it back on the top of my deck again, and move into combat. Since Jimmy didn't honor his word of having a way of dealing with Mark's defenses, I attack Jimmy with Kaalia, and with its trigger, drop in a Hellkite Tyrant. Jimmy takes 7 damage, and thanks to the Tyrant, I gain control of all of Jimmy's artifacts. I'm really starting to feel like I should change my name this episode from BT to the Grinch, maybe? Oh wait, the Grinch is already taken. Let's go with BT Grinch. There you go. In the comments, hashtag BT the Grinch. Anyway, I pass a turn. During Mark's turn, I untap all my artifacts thanks to the unwinding clock I gained from Jimmy, but shouldn't have untapped the swamp since that only works for artifacts. Look at me being the silly goose. I must have Seedborn Muse on my brain. My bad, guys. Mark becomes super happy during his turn, because apparently he drew the card he needed to take over the game. He moves right into combat and he attacks me with all 3 of his flyers. I take 6 damage, and he gains 6 Derevi triggers. He uses 3 to untap his creatures, and 3 to untap his fertile ground plains 3 times, floating 2 mana each time, including a blue. Then he casts Capsize with buyback, bouncing Kaalia to my hand before passing the turn. For Jimmy's turn, he casts a Dark Steel Ingot. Then Brainstorm. After resolving its effect, he plays a Seat of the Synod and passes. For my turn, I take another damage with my Arena to draw a free card, and I then cast Rakdos Return for 2 on Mark, hoping to discard his Capsize. But Mark casts Mystic Snake to flat out counterspell my card. I still say the flavor text on that should be, how about no? I then recast top again and pay 1 to scan my top 3 cards. I then move into combat and attack Mark with my Tyrant. He blocks with Derevi, taking 3 damage, and moves Derevi back to the command zone. I then cast Enlightened Tutor, placing Lightning Greaves on the top of my deck. Then I tap my Sensei's Divining Top to place the card in my hands, and place the top on the top of my deck, and place the Greaves on my Tyrant. I then pass, to which Mark flashes Derevi back in, tapping my other creature. Mark moves right into combat on his turn and waves me with all of his creatures for a total of 10 damage. He gets 10 Derevi triggers. 10 Derevi triggers! He uses 5 to untap all his creatures, and the other 5 to use his Fertile Plains for 10 mana. Then taps it naturally to give him a total of 12, including 6 blue, to use Capsize buyback twice. This time he targets Jimmy's Worn Power Stone that I have controlled, and my Godless Shrine before passing the turn. Jimmy plays an island, and then casts his general, Brudiclad Telchor Engineer. He then moves into combat to gain a 2/1 Mirror token and passes turn. During my turn, I take another damage from my Arena to draw a free card. I then recast Kaalia and equip it with Lightning Greaves. I then move to combat and attack Jimmy with Kaalia and my Tyrant. And with Kaalia's trigger, I drop in a Platinum Angel. Jimmy takes 12 damage And again, I gain control of all of Jimmy's artifacts. Jeez. I'm sorry, Jimmy. Just don't start calling me the BT who stole your Christmas. I then recast top in my second main phase, and again scan my top 3. Then I play my Godless Shrine again, and pass. During my end step, Mark again uses his Capsize with buyback to bounce Jimmy's Trophy Mage this time. I untap my artifacts during Mark's turn thanks to my clock. Mark plays an island, and then moves to combat and waves Jimmy with all his creatures. Jimmy takes 10 damage. And again, in a rinse and repeat style format, he uses his 10 Derevi triggers, 5 to untap his creatures, and 5 to untap the fertile plains 5 times. And then he taps it naturally again to give him a total of 12 to Capsize buyback twice again during his own turn. This time he targets Jimmy's Brudiclad and my Kaalia to return to the hand. Jimmy returns Brudiclad to his command zone instead, and then Mark passes the turn. Jimmy recasts his Trophy Mage and adds a crystal ball to his hand with its effect before passing the turn. During his end step, I look at my top 3 cards with my senseis. During my turn, I take another damage from my arena for a free draw. I recast Kaalia, and then I plane cycle my Eternal Dragon. This allows me to search my deck for a Scrubland, which I play as my land for the turn. I then look at my top 3 cards again after shuffling with my Sensei's Divining Top. I move to combat and attack Mark with my Master of Cruelties. Mark gang blocks it and sacrifices his Selfless Spirit to grant his creatures indestructible until the end of the turn, killing my Master of Cruelties. I pass a turn, and during the end step, yet another Capsize with buyback bounces my Tyrant this time. During Mark's turn, I untap my artifacts, and then during his upkeep, use my top to draw a card and cast Silence, so that he can't play any spells this turn. So Mark chooses just to pass the turn. Jimmy casts Worn Power Stone and passes. For my turn, I take another damage from my Phyrexian Arena to draw an extra card. Then, I move to combat. I attack Mark with all of my creatures, and with Kaalia's effect, I bring in Balefire Dragon. Mark uses his Capsize with buyback to bounce the Balefire, then has Derevi block Kaalia, and Sakashima block the Mirror token, taking 4 damage from the Platinum Angel alone. I move Kaalia back to the command zone, and during my second main phase, I cast Akroma's Vengeance, wiping out most of the board. Although while clearing, I didn't notice Jimmy had taken back his ingot, which shouldn't have happened since it's indestructible? That sneaky bum. Hashtag Jimmy is a sneaky bum. Anyways, I play my Blood Crypt tapped and recast my top yet again and pass a turn. Mark plays a Mystic Gate for his land and casts Soul Ring. Then he casts a Mirror Turbine and passes. Jimmy plays a Crystal Ball and passes. And during his end step, I scan my top 3 cards again with my top. For my turn, I play a Sacred Foundry tapped, while Jimmy scries 2 with his Crystal Ball. I then cast my Soul Ring and recast my Hellkite Tyrant and pass the turn. During my end step, Mark uses his Turbine to make a 1/1 Mirror token and flashes in Derevi to tap my Tyrant. Mark goes straight into combat on his turn and attacks me with his 2 creatures, dealing me 3 damage. With his 2 Derevi triggers, he untaps his Soul Ring twice for 4 mana, and pays 2 blue to cast Capsize with buyback again to bounce my Tyrant back to my hand. Then he passes the turn. For Jimmy's turn, he casts his Soul Ring, and then a Swiftfoot Boots. After that, he scries 2 with his Crystal Ball, and finally passes the turn. During his end step, I scan my top 3 cards again with my Sensei's top. For my turn, I play a Mountain, and then I pay all my available mana to hardcast my Tyrant and Balefire Dragon again before passing the turn. During my end step, Mark capsizes my Balefire Dragon and makes a second Mirror token with his Turbine. For Mark's turn, he capsizes with buyback to get rid of my Tyrant. Mark then moves into combat, and he attacks me with his 3 creatures for 4 damage, putting me to 1. Jimmy and I realize that with our current resources, we don't have anything we can use to stop Capsize buyback from bouncing any of our permanents that could potentially let us stay in the game. And on top of that, with no way to stop the combat damage he would deal to either one of us in his next turn, we both scoop it up and Mark takes the game. Welcome to Cardboard MVP, where we have a quick look at the card that did the most for each player. Contrary to the norm where by the end game he has a massive board state, Francis was sadly eliminated before he had the chance to show off his deck's abilities. Though I'm confident his Throne of the God Pharaoh would have probably been his best if he had time to build his board. For myself, the MVP has to be the Commander staple, Sensei's Divining Top. While Phyrexian Arena helped me a lot with draw power, it was only through the power of the top that I was able to use my tutors very efficiently. It's just too bad that I wasn't able to use it to find another discard method to deal with the Capsize in time. Jimmy's MVP was likely Trophy Mage, as it increased his hand size with artifacts, but unfortunately due to having his permanents either repeatedly bounced, destroyed, or stolen, he was unable to maintain a stable board state, especially with cards like Capsize and Hellkite Tyrant being his deck's worst enemies. And for Mark, no doubt about it, Capsize for him was the equivalent of the Infinity Gauntlet. He skillfully used it in combination with Derevi triggers to remove any and all harm that could have been done to him. Do you agree with our picks? What card do you feel was the best for each player? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, thank you to our subscribers, because as of this video, our family is now less than a dozen subs away from 800. Alright guys, that's it for this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed watching. Just want to let you know, if you aren't already part of our ever-growing EDHCC family and you want to join in on the fun, make sure you smash the subscribe button and the notification bells down below, and you'll know every single time a new video drops. Now, we do videos every single week. So don't forget as well to like them, share them, comment on them, but most importantly, enjoy them. Shout out to all of our family members, our subscribers, our viewers, if you will. It is an honor and a privilege to do this each and every week, and you joining on the fun with us. Until next time, I'm your host, BT, reminding you to check out all of the videos on the channel. Join our game. It's now your turn. Cheers!